everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Cradle News Roundup coming to you live. My name is Esteban Carrillo. I am the news editor for the Cradle, and as usual, I'm joined by my friends and colleagues, content creator and writer for the Cradle, Karim Shami, and investigative journalist and also writer for the Cradle, William Van Wagenen. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, and thank you to everyone who's joining now or stream. I know we came in a little late sometimes. Technical issues hold us back. Before we start, as usual, just a friendly reminder, please make sure to hit that like button, to leave a comment, to subscribe if you haven't, to check out our memberships here on YouTube, and most importantly, as usual, check out our Patreon, where you can become a direct supporter of the Cradle. We need your support more now than ever before. So, today we are starting this episode just a few hours after Donald Trump and Xi Jinping met in South Korea, agreeing to a significant de-escalation of their trade war. This is a trade war that Donald Trump has been spearheading since his first administration, really, and which China has in many ways weathered and in other ways found very painful ways to hit back, in particular the rare earth minerals restrictions that they announced, that they now have said we're going to delay. Very important to highlight that many of the things that have been agreed today are not so much a clear de-escalate, a clear stop to the trade war, but more a delay. They're just being delayed. Many of these decisions. Karim, I don't know if you have the video when they actually of this moment, because I feel Xi Jinping's body language speaks volumes. Truly, truly pure cinema. If you don't have it, let me know. I can send it to you. I think I have it somewhere here in my laptop. Um, you can clearly see who holds the power in these talks. For his part, Donald Trump has agreed to, to reduce tariffs, to remove thousands of companies from the entity list, which just a few weeks ago increased from, I think it was 1,400 to over 20,000 companies that were in this list. Just a lot of different threats, different ways in which Donald Trump was trying to hurt China, and in many ways, just kind of hitting. Firing back at himself, right, and at the U.S. economy. We can get into all of that, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you make of this summit? Do you think we are headed to our new prosperous era of cooperation and an end to the trade war, or is this simply just, another stop along the way?
First, Esteban, share with me the video.
Okay,
I
I'll send it
couldn't
to you.
find
You're a
it.
bit low, Karim. I hear
Yeah,
you
yeah,
a bit low.
yeah. That's one. And the second thing, I don't think if there will be agreement, of course, the United States will try to make this agreement go its way. I don't think currently China accepts this. I don't think even Trump or the United States government cares to de-escalate. They will de-escalate if China backs down, if China stops manufacturing arms and exporting arms, if China forgets about Taiwan, which is, I think, will never happen. So
Mhm.
I think this is a meeting, like a normal meeting, because I don't think any of these countries will back down. China will try, as they did since like 3 decades, to be more prosperous, to be a superpower. And the United States now, because and they said it, yani their army said it, because they wasted a lot of time in the Middle East. They left China to be a superpower, and they are trying every single way to undermine China. And for instance, whatever China does now, and I think William can retaliate, can also agree
Expand.
with me.
Mhm.
Yeah, because for instance, even journalists in the West, even if they don't like Trump, they always say that whatever China does is because they took the technology from the West. They always try to tell us that China can't invent, China can't manufacture. Everything that China did is because they stole or hacked some files from the West, or because they took the technology from the West. Part of it is true. I think this applies like 10 years ago, but currently we see that the innovation and everything that's coming out of China is new. Even the West is saying that they can't do what China is doing. So this meeting, I think, will eventually. I think for me, it might fail. It might, for a short time, will will benefit both sides if they agree about the rare earth material, which will benefit the United States, and if Trump backs down of tariffs, which will benefit China.
Karim, I think you have some mic issues. I hear you very low. Some people in the chat are saying they actually can't hear you at all. So I don't know if maybe you can
Okay.
look into that. By the way, I also just sent you the video. So not to pile too many things on you. William, what do you make of this meeting? What do you make of what happened? And do you think, this is actually something, that we can look forward to? Or is just, just like Donald Trump being Donald Trump, maybe he'll change his mind tomorrow?
Well, there seems to be a pattern ever since Trump came to power earlier this year, where he will make these big threats about, putting huge tariffs on different countries, and then it tends to spark a little bit of panic, like in the stock market in the U.S., for example. But then when it comes down to it, Trump tends to back off it and just kind of say, "Oh, okay, well, we came to a deal," and he backs off of his threats. So on November 1st, which I think is tomorrow,
Two
there were
days, two
supposed
days from now.
or in 2 days, Trump had said that there would be a 100% tariff that he would impose on Chinese goods. So the meeting today, they came to some type of an agreement. So Trump backed off of that. And then, it just seems like the two countries kind of need each other. I mean, China does need to keep, selling things to the US, so it doesn't want huge tariffs. The US needs the rare earth minerals, as you said. Um, so I don't know. It just seems like the economies are so closely tied together that it's hard to imagine that there would be any like major conflict like economically in the near term. So again, it just seems like the same pattern of Trump making these threats about tariffs and then coming to a deal like at the last second. Like it just seems to be the same pattern over and over again.
Well, it seems, China this week, this same week, they presented their next 5-year plan. The Chinese Communist Party presented their next 5-year plan, which is, how they have managed their government since 1952. They have this is how they brought out, like 800 million people out of poverty. This is how they managed to, right now, a few years ago there was a report that said like 90% or 80% of millennials own homes in China. They have this vision of growing the economy, growing productive economy, the real economy. Meanwhile, in the US at this point you have uh, you have the markets, right? The Nasdaq, the SP 500, all all going up, all pointing towards profits. But then when you look closer, this is only 10 companies. It's 10 companies within the entire US stock market that are driving everything up. And this is what is known as the AI bubble, right? You have the major tech companies all investing and or well obtaining massive investments to build data centers, to do research and development in AI, because AI is going to save us all. This is how it's being sold. And they need, first of all, the rare earth minerals. Like without this entire dream, this entire bubble collapses from today to the next one, right? It's just over and done. Like you just saw after Donald Trump ordered the Netherlands to seize Nexperia, the chips company that is owned by China, and then China imposed complete restrictions on Nexperia, saying we're not going to share anything with them anymore since you guys just stole it from us. That car companies, you had Volkswagen, you had Volvo, I think Ford also, were saying we're going to have to stop production. We're going to have to stop production of our vehicles because all of a sudden we're not going to have the chips that we need, because China controls all of this now. They control the manufacturing. They control no, not the manufacturing, the processing. The processing of them, they have like almost a near monopoly. So I think I do disagree a bit with you, William. I feel like in this case, the United States needs China a lot more than China needs the US. China wants to deal with the US. They want to. This is the reason why Xi Jinping is meeting with Donald Trump. I don't know, Karim, do you have the video? Were you able to download it? You can tell by his body language that he really didn't care about being here very much. Like he felt that this was well, something he needed to do instead of something he desired to do to meet Donald Trump. I mean, and Donald Trump, on the other hand, is just bending over himself, trying to be friendly and to be, I mean, just look at this. Look, this starts all well and nice, right? But it immediately, the body language speak. And even the agreements today, many of the things that China agreed to delay, all of these decisions were decisions that are not part of their 5-year plan, are not part of their, the plans for development. They are measures that have been implemented over the past few months in direct response to Trump's tariffs. So if anything, China is kind of, in a way, right back to the start of like, we can cooperate, we can talk, we can trade. And then the United States is actually the one that is taking back many things that they had said would actually improve the economy, make things better, cut back Chinese influence. Is Donald Trump doing the taco again, chickening out and saying, I can't really fight a war with China, because if we lose their chips, if we lose their minerals, if we lose all of this, it's going to hurt us very bad. Meanwhile, if China loses the U.S. market, which they have to an extent this year, they've lost about 30% of trade with the U.S. already due to tariffs. On the other hand, they keep boosting their trade with other nations, including the EU, including the ASEAN nations, including the Gulf nations, including Latin America, Brazil, etc., etc. So this is not a. I don't feel like if they go back to a trade war, this is again going to be a lose lose. This is going to hurt the U.S. government a lot more than it's going to hurt the Chinese.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but the economy, like you said, the economy in the U.S., it's getting on kind of shaky ground, and there is this AI bubble, as you said. I mean, most of the stock market gains are just all of the stock market gains are as a result of those 10 companies, which are mostly tech companies, and there's just not. I mean, there are a lot of economic commentators who say, look, the idea that that AI is going to bring these type of profits that they're expecting is just not reasonable. And there have been a lot of like job layoffs recently, and a lot of
Yes,
tech companies saying that they're going to lay off a lot of workers.
thousands and thousands.
Amazon, for example, and the claim is that it's because of AI. They're replacing these workers with AI. But there are a lot of commentators who say, well, actually, that's not really the case. They're really laying off people just because there's like a recession coming, essentially. And the Fed has been, cutting rates and things like that. So we'll see. I mean, Trump, maybe that's one reason why he had to back off of these, big threats with China, is because he's seeing that, the economy is weakening in the U.S. and he just can't take the risk of doing anything like that. And, of course, life is good in the United States. Anyone who lives there should be grateful, I guess, based on how easy life is. But at the same time, it's getting harder. And,
I mean, except if you're an immigrant,
inflation
and you're
and
getting
all
chased
these
down.
things, life is getting harder. So we'll see what happens in that regard with the economy.
What do you have any other thoughts, Karim? I don't know if your mic maybe it's doing better right now. No, can't hear you. Can't hear you. We only hear you. No, no, no. We can't hear you right now.
That's
Do it again.
better. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
kind of low.
So
You're kind of low, but we can hear you. At least now we can hear you.
okay, I will try. Sorry, all we had issues. The electricity was off for like 2 hours. So yeah, I think both countries they need each other, to be honest. Yani, for instance, now everything that China manufactures is being purchased by the United States, and there's many companies and many uh, factories in China that was built by American companies, and of course, China also benefits from the payment from the dollar and from the payment system that the United States has, and we know that also both countries can hurt each other as what happened. So, for instance, as you said, that China made like a law, so a law to prevent the flow of rare earth material outside of China without the government knowing, for instance.
Mhm.
And of course, the United States tried to put tariffs before that. So I think both countries need each other. I don't think China wants to replace the United States in any means. Yani. And of course, China, because China is still, according to them, they consider themselves a developing country, and they didn't reach the peak, and they want the money flow that's coming mainly from the West, from the United States and from Europe. I don't think China wants to cancel or to replace the United States, and I think Trump thought that his country is powerful enough to stop China, but eventually it's not that powerful anymore compared to China. So I think both countries need each other, although in the media and many people and many even like people that go to the TV and they are analysts, they think that China, or they portray that China wants to replace United States, but in my view, they don't want that. All what they know they need currently is the money flow, because as you said, every year they have like a 5-year plan or 10-year plan, and the money flow, we all know that most of the things or expensive things that China is selling for Europe and the United States and Canada and Australia and these countries that are under the wing of the United States. So I think
I mean,
they need each other eventually. But of course, there's of course many geopolitical problems, including South China Sea, including Taiwan, including the bases in Philippines and other places.
Karim, I don't know if you can take a moment to see if maybe I don't know if you have we have another microphone to see what the issue is, because you really are very low. Your voice is very
I am
very
very
low.
low. Sorry.
I was gonna say something about what you just mentioned about I forgot. About the 5-year plan, about this week's 5-year plan that the CCP announced. One of their most interesting points is that they're gonna try to drive internal the internal economy. So they want to boost the actual Chinese commerce inside of China. They want people to have more money in their pockets, so for
Yeah.
people to be able to spend more. And I think this points towards this idea of becoming a self-reliant. Karim, I think it's very clear what you're saying in that China doesn't want to end trade with the US. And the important word here is want. They don't want to end trade with the US. But since 2018, they have been finding different ways in which they can overcome this eventuality, something that they feel it's inevitable due to the postures, not just of Donald Trump, of the Democrats as well, Joe Biden, etc., that have been very hawkish towards China, in particular with the Taiwan issue. I mean, this week the Taiwanese president said that they see Israel as a model for defense against China, right? They say this is like David versus Goliath. And of course, we are David, just like the Israelis, amid reports that Israel has been helping Taiwan develop their own Iron Dome, called the T Dome system. So there's it's apparent that the US empire is not going to just kind of lay back and be like, okay, I guess we'll, become just another Europe, just another irrelevant player in geopolitics, and after our economy completely collapses because these feudalistic tech lords just cannot stop selling smoke, cannot being, stop being snake oil salesmen and saying AI is going to change everybody's lives. And in reality, what it's doing is causing mass layoffs, is perpetuating the presence of data centers. Right now, data centers made up almost the entire economic growth of the US for the first semester of 2025. If this huge investment by the tech companies in data centers hadn't been there, the US economy would have had 0.1% growth in the first semester, because there's no industry, there's no services. People are, like William said, everything every day is becoming worse for them. And to that I will add just the fact of what you have on the streets happening with ICE, happening with the border patrol, with the disappearances, with the arrests without warrants, etc., etc. We really are seeing this kind of stranglehold on the US populace. And I don't think this is something that is being recognized so much for what it is, which is just kind of like, hey, now we're a fascist state, full blown, full on, and it's going to get worse. I mean, I saw yesterday the Wall Street Journal was reporting that the Pentagon has ordered the National Guards, the Guard, to prepare like squadrons of troops that would be deployed under quick notice if there's civil unrest, if there's protest, right? If there's protest, now the National Guard is being prepared to be deployed and do arrests. I have the headline here. It says Pentagon orders National Guard to establish quick reaction forces for civil unrest, riots. You have Steve Bannon talking, giving a quote in which he says Donald Trump is going to be a third-term president. He's going to be the first third-term president. And when asked how, all he said was, "This is divine providence." This is so freaking scary, guys. I mean, like, if I were in the US, I'd be terrified. I'm near-ish the US, and I'm pretty scared. But because this is kind of becoming, like the them versus us. Uh, Everyone who opposes this system, including in the US, is gonna be, uh, arrested, disappeared, or just simply oppressed in one way or another. And everybody outside is gonna get bombs, is gonna get bullets, is gonna get, we are seeing the normalization of genocide from Gaza to Sudan to I don't know if you guys saw what happened in Rio de Janeiro this week, that they killed like 160 people in a police raid in a neighborhood. And these are all like, in one way or another, these are representatives of the international far right, right? They're just like profiting from this violence. They see political gain in violence and in killings. So, I feel like that's kind of where the stage is set at right now. I'm sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there. I don't know if you guys have anything to add about
Yeah,
the
I
situation
want
with
to say
China.
I know what's the problem, so I will refresh my page and fix my mic. Okay, sorry for that.
Okay. I wanted to ask you something also, William, but I completely forgot what it was. Um, I mean, this stuff with the markets. Maybe we can stay there with what you're saying with the layoffs. How do you see the situation in the U.S. developing ahead of next year? Ahead of the midterm elections that are coming. Do you think there's a way out of this like debt spiral that the U.S. government seems to find itself in, or do you think really just things are going to get worse?
Well, it does seem like it's going to get worse, especially because the national debt just keeps
Can you,
growing and
William?
growing
Can
and
you bring your
growing.
microphone a bit closer to you because you're also a bit low?
Oh yeah, it seems like things in the U.S. long term will probably get worse and worse because the national debt just keeps growing and growing, and the government is taking no efforts to reverse that. So the big beautiful bill, I think Trump called it, was just going to massively expand
Yeah, it
spending.
reached 37 billion, I think.
Oh, there's
Uh,
Karim. I can hear him now. Everyone say
Yeah.
hi to Karim in the chat.
Hello.
and the amount of money that the U.S. government is spending, whether it's, I guess they're cutting back on Ukraine, but in terms of sending money to Israel and just spending on everything, the U.S. government just keeps spending and spending. So it almost seems like they are either trying to just crash the currency or they don't care if they do. They're just kind of spending, looting, trying to loot the country, I guess, as much as they can before things kind of collapse. And maybe they think they can use some type of stable coin or relying on Bitcoin or something like that to kind of transition away from the US dollar to something different. But, it does just seem like things are getting worse. Like I said, inflation has just been really, really bad. I mean, I haven't lived in the US in a couple of years now, but I go home to visit sometimes. And when I go home to visit, I'm always just shocked at how expensive everything has gotten and how difficult it is for people to buy homes, to buy cars. I mean, the things have really, really changed a lot in the last 5 years since COVID, and the U.S. dollar has just been devalued really drastically. That's why we see the value of gold has gone through the roof in the last couple of years as well. So there just doesn't seem to be any effort on the part of the U.S. government, not on the part of the Democrats or the Republicans, to rein in the spending and try to get the debt under control. And that's just going to continue to lead to the dollar becoming worth less and less. And that just makes life harder and harder for regular people. So, like you said, Esteban, it may be that they're trying to provoke some type of crisis so that there are riots, there are people in the streets to give Trump the excuse to bring out the National Guard and crack down further on people, introduce more, surveillance, get Palantir, more and more power so they can continue to monitor Americans or do that more closely. One thing that's been kind of weird in the last couple of days is this strange. Is that because the U.S. government currently is shut down right now? They're not allegedly going to fund the food stamp program, and so there's millions and millions of Americans that rely on food stamps every month, and there's all kinds of warnings on social media of people saying that they're going to riot or loot or go into Walmarts and just steal food if their food stamps don't come through.
I mean,
I don't know
looting has
how. I
kind
don't
of
know
become
how.
a bit of an everyday thing too, right? Like you see videos almost every day of like some store getting looted, some store getting robbed. In particular, like I think in California, it became such a big deal that like essentially, all stores are boarded up, and
Yeah, in California, if I'm not mistaken, because they passed a law that you are not allowed to catch a shoplifter. So if you catch a shoplifter, you will be prosecuted as him. So that's why you see many videos of people robbing and fleeing, and nobody is stopping them, because there is a law that in California that protects people that steal, which is insane.
Yeah, well, basically, if you steal less than $1,000 worth of stuff,
Yeah,
then you won't be like prosecuted or
yeah,
tried or put in
it
in
is
jail or
insane.
anything. So that's been laws that have been put in place in most of the democratic controlled states and in cities, but especially in California. So, but in again, if there are like riots or problems, again, it's just a way for the government to expand its powers further. Like I said, bring out the National Guard or increase, have additional surveillance connected to law enforcement. So again, I don't know, things in general in the U.S. are just kind of not looking very
deteriorating.
bright. So yeah.
Thank you so much to Golnara Marchis for their super chat. And I completely agree with Dr. Susan Jacob, who says Karim is the best. He is indeed.
Thank
Uh,
you.
we're so happy to hear you now. William, just to mention very quickly, because this thing with the National Guard and the Pentagon, it is also at the same time the, ICE this year increased their budget for weapons by 700%. And according to estimates, between 2026 and 2029, their budget is going to surpass 120 something billion dollars, which is like
The
multiple times the budget of the FBI, the
yeah,
DEA, the NSA.
it's the same budget of the Russian army.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So yeah, I mean, internally in the United States, if you are in the US, I truly do feel for you, because this does not seem like it's gonna get any better anytime soon. This is still the first year of Trump's presidency, guys. He was inaugurated in January this year, and everything just seems to be going down the toilet very, very quickly, except if you're an executive at Meta, if you're an executive at Amazon, then everything's looking up, looking rosy. If you are, I mean, apparently, and I can't remember the details of this very well, but you remember Donald Trump's coin, right? He's a crypto
Mm.
that he like the Trump family has been raking in the cash from this little crypto endeavor, and that includes from Binance, whose CEO was just pardoned a few days ago. So just another day in
Yeah,
the U.S.
not
empire.
only from coins. I mean, he have merch, he have hats, he have perfumes, he have many things. He have a Bible, a Trump
He-
Bible, for
the,
instance.
the Trump
Yeah,
Bible. Wow.
they have many things. Yeah, and just يعني, just look. I looked it up for me not to be mistaken. The budget of the Russian army for this year, 2025, is 150 billion, and it's the biggest country in the world, and يعني, it's passing through war. يعني also, imagine that the Russian army, which is the second biggest army in the world, has the same budget as ICE, which is like
The Gestapo,
يعني,
the secret police.
yeah, it's insane.
William, I
And they
wanna
complain that they don't have money. Hala, we don't care about anything except Ohio. Yeah.
I want to call out someone on the chat, William Camplat2203, who says, I'm about a third of the way through your book, William. And let's do some
Oh,
shilling here,
great.
because I actually have your book right here.
Oh, thank you.
So let's shield William's book for a bit. Make sure to get it. Here it is. Here it is. I know he's doesn't carry a copy around, but I always sit in front of one. So
Yeah,
make sure to get it.
I still haven't seen a copy myself, so that's
You haven't?
as close as I get is when Esteban puts it up. So
When I put it up and I tell people, go get a copy. Very, very fascinating book. Just absolute historical document of what happened in Syria by your very own William Van Wagenen. So yeah, well, let's move on a bit. This morning, something interesting happened in Lebanon, right? Joseph Aoun, the president, former leader of the Lebanese armed forces, gave a statement that me personally, I found that a bit surprising what he said. I don't know if Karim, can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So today, what happened is that a group of Israeli army, or the Israeli army, entered a village in Lebanon, which is 1 kilometers away from the border, which is around 0.6 miles away from the border, and they entered the municipality building, and there was a guy inside the building. He's like a government employee, and they killed him in cold blood. And the point is that this building was used just to distribute food and aid to the surrounding villages. And afterwards, of course, many people in Lebanon were furious of what happened, because first, there was no Lebanese army there to protect them, or to even know that an Israeli force entered Lebanon. And the UNIFIL, because here in Lebanon we have a UN force called UNIFIL, which is supposed to like protect the border. And also they didn't do anything. And suddenly this guy found himself surrounded by Israeli soldiers, and they killed him in cold blood. Because first, I will share some footage and pictures. He's an old man, and you can say, and he's not a young man to think that he might be like a threat to the force, which entered, of course, illegally. It's an occupation force. And the building, yeah, is not used by Hezbollah. Also, we have footage of Hezbollah. And this, of course, eventually forced the Lebanese president to say to give orders to the army. And he told them that they should respond if any violation of the Israeli army happened on the Lebanese land. So now I will put some first. This is inside the building that was targeted and by the Israeli army, and they entered this army. This is a municipality building for the Lebanese government. They killed him here, and he was alone. And his wife said that he lives inside the building because his building was bombed by the Israelis. And you see the bullets, and you see the Lebanese flag there. And also, I will show you what was this building used for. So this building was used for the aid. You'll see the aid. You have food, you have water, and that's what the building was used for. So this forced, of course, the army. Sorry, yes, the army and the president and even the prime minister to take actions. Or till now, they didn't take action. And they just said what should be said. But we have to wait to see what the actions that will be put. Here you'll see they distribute things for the children and food, and that's it. And even the army also released a statement, and they said that all what the Israelis said is a lie. This building is not used for anything. It's not used for weapons or for Hezbollah. It's a pure building owned by the Lebanese government in the south of Lebanon. Yeah, so that's what happened. That's the situation
truly
in Lebanon.
horrifying, and in particular,
Yeah.
Joseph Aoun's words: "The Lebanese army must confront any Israeli incursion." Let me ask you guys: doesn't that fly in the face of the words of the U.S. envoy Tom Barrack, who said just a few months ago, "We're not going to be arming the Lebanese army to fight Israel. We're going to be arming them to fight other Lebanese." Is the Lebanese army? I mean, can you expect them to act at all?
Previously they acted sometimes, previously, to give them to give credit, but of course previously there was no Nawaf Salam. The government was not like fully taking orders from the Gulf countries and only implementing what the Gulf countries and the Israelis and the Americans want. There was like debate in the country for important decisions that are being that used to be taken. But now Nawaf Salam, all what he is pushing is to corner Hezbollah, to remove the weapons from Hezbollah, to do whatever pleases the West and the Americans. So I just want also to share the location of the village. So this village is around 1 kilometer, as I said, away from the border, as you see here. Of course, Lebanon is very small, but this is the Israelis entered from this point, and they attacked the municipality building, and they killed this poor guy inside. I don't think, first, we don't have the capability, of course, to respond as a Lebanese army. But of course, they can shoot. They are well trained, and of course, I'm saying this why we don't have this capability, because also the United States and the Israelis prevent the Lebanese army from being armed, and that's the main reason why Hezbollah was so powerful, and why Hezbollah exists. And I think this what happened, although it's very sad, but this also is a good point for Hezbollah, because Hezbollah till now all what they are doing, they are saying we are under the government. The government should protect us. They should protect its people. But what's happening is completely the opposite. Now people feel and know, even though that we know it from decades. Now most of the Lebanese know that we don't have the capability or the will to protect our own. So that's the importance of Hezbollah. That's why people, and especially the people in the south, they need Hezbollah. Yani, if your army can't protect you, and even if the government can't protect you by words, yani, even in closed doors, how can they protect you when the Israelis are coming in and attacking people inside buildings that are owned and built by the government? And this building, that's why I'm just stressing this. This building has the Lebanese flag in the front of the building. It's what's written in Arabic is Municipality of Blida, South Lebanon. يعني it's not a normal building. If people can say, will say, يعني maybe Hezbollah used it. No, it's a pure building built, and the full function of the building is from the Lebanese government.
William, what do you think would be the outcome if all of a sudden, the Lebanese army decides to actually respond to one of these Israeli aggressions? They're legitimate, right? I guess, despite what everyone tells us, other countries also have the right to self-defense. It's not just Israel. But what would you see happen? What would be the Israeli response if all of a sudden the Lebanese army says, "Hey, actually, we do have weapons. Let's actually, do something about this"?
Well, again, with the Israelis and the Americans, there's this constant double standard, where Israel can do whatever it wants. Essentially, it can take preemptive action to just kill people that it says are planning attacks against them. And then if anyone tries to respond, then they're called terrorists. And so if the Lebanese army really tries to step up and prevent Israeli incursions or fight against the Israelis, or if there's even any type of clashes between Lebanese and Israeli forces, um, again, the United States will be really angry about that, and will try to, I imagine, just increase their intervention in the country. And they do have, some leverage against the Lebanese government, obviously. So I don't know exactly what the outcome would be, but definitely there would be a big Israeli and American response just based on that constant, double standard that they're operating on.
I think I agree with you. I agree with you. Let's move on a bit because there's many other things that have been happening, and I know this is a topic that we have not really touched upon a lot in the podcast, and is unfortunately a topic that sometimes the details and the particulars of it escapes us. But there's been a lot of chatter over the past week about what's been happening in Sudan and the UAE's role. The Rapid Support Forces, armed by the UAE, recently took the city of El Fasher. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. In the Darfur region, where Karim, I sent you a link. I don't know if can we open it. It is a tweet with images in which the violence has been so bloody that you can actually see the rivers of blood from space. Satellite images actually show you how much blood has been spilled in the city, and videos coming out. It's truly a horrific situation, and not anything new. This has been ongoing for a few years now. I believe it actually started before the genocide in Gaza. And many people would often ask, especially here in the chat or in other places, like, why do you guys talk about Gaza so much? Well, this is also happening in Sudan. Well, unfortunately, the politics of the situation in Gaza with the U.S. and with Israel in particular, and the impunity with which they act, kind of force us, to always keep it at the forefront. Uh, Here you can see the violence unleashed by the Rapid Support Forces, which, as I said, are armed by the UAE. It's also worth noting that Sudan was among the 7 nations in the in that Pentagon memo that the Colonel Wesley Clark mentioned, right, following the start of the war in Iraq, that he saw this memo talking about 7 countries that need to be destabilized within the next 5 years. Now, all of those countries have been in one way or another or bombed. Actually, no, all of them have been bombed by this point, and or attempted to be destabilized internally. Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran. I forget. I'm sorry, but Syria. We have seen it, and this is still happening. We had a report this week that said that the UAE is funneling British arms to Sudan, to the Rapid Support Forces. They're also funneling Chinese drones. Is there anything I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but I would like to hear your thoughts about this situation. And what does it say exactly about the UAE? What is the UAE doing here?
Yeah, in addition to what they are doing in or sending weapons to Sudan, there are also reports that they are sending weapons now to Libya and they are preparing something to Libya. So I think that the Arab world is big enough that it wants more than one Israel. So now we have the UAE and Israel. Both are working against the Arab world and against any country that is somehow have the infrastructure of a country and infrastructure for its military or even history. So that's what they are doing. They are not only in these countries because sorry, I will not go in details into Sudan because I don't have enough knowledge to talk about Sudan to be honest. But we all know that the hands of UAE is in Sudan, the hands of UAE is in Libya, and also in Egypt. They fully support Sisi, and whatever happens to Sisi, they support him and send money. And they have like many cities now named after Al Zayed family, the UAE family in Abu Dhabi and in Dubai. And also they have many even their hands also stretch to southern Iraq. They have also many projects there. And of course, unfortunately, most of these projects are not good for these countries. They might benefit in a short time. They will see the money flow. They will see like buildings being built. But eventually, what's happening? We can see what's happening in Libya and in Sudan. The countries are torn apart. And also, of course, what happened in Syria. Of course, UAE had hands in what's happening there. So that's my vision. Yani. If we zoom out, we will see that Israel is also doing the dirty work of the West, and currently, and at least in the past decade, UAE is also expanding and doing the dirty work. And of course, let us not forget about Yemen. They have their own militia, and the head of the military of the UAE 3 years ago said it live on TV. We are very proud now. We have our own army in Yemen, and it consists of around 100,000 fighters. And of course, they use these fighters not only in Yemen because the satellite images and the leaked information shows us that there are many airplanes going back and forth from Somal to Yemen and from Somal to Libya and to Sudan also. And also we in Gaza, of course, we know that Abu Shabab, many said that he had
We talked
weapons
about
from
this
the
on
UAE.
Monday.
Yeah, of course. And of course, I forgot what's their name. It's the buggies, I think,
Who?
the small cars that they have in,
Buggies?
yeah, like buggies, yes. They had the UAE plate on them. So that's the role of the UAE, unfortunately. And of course, they hide behind Dubai and the towers, and that we are like a very modern country. But what they are doing is unacceptable. Same as the United States. They are
It's
like they are they consider themselves, they are like the prosperous country, the best country in the world, and blah blah blah. But if you look around them, you'll see how many wars they did and how many people they killed and how many people they are still killing even through soft power, through sanctions and other things.
I think it's very important what you mentioned, Karim, that the UAE is also behind some of these Palestinian militias in Gaza that are trying to create, these like post-Hamas reality. They are also obviously one of the warmongers in Yemen that created that horrific crisis in Yemen. And now we are hearing reports from Yemeni media that UAE commanders are being sent to Gaza too to train the international forces. That the rapid support forces, I saw this a few days ago, between 2015 and 2020, were actually fighting in Yemen. They were fighting Ansar Allah in the name of the UAE because, and I'm sure many of the people listening right now know this. And by the way, make sure to hit that like button, guys. We are still a bit low on that regard. But the
فكر الدفاع يا اخواني
sorry,
وصلت يا
Sivan,
اخواني
just Sharbin asked us to
ما
share
دايرين
this.
الله يسلمكم
Brother,
من
can you mute
الاشياء
it?
يعني
It's
انت
not muted, sorry.
تنشر الامداد والله يا اخواني اقبضوا هذا بوضوح
So
في السجن عديد
that's
نياله
it will be
Or
muted.
just
لا
hit pause.
تكون من قبيل
Yes.
Well, what this says is an audio that says, an Emirati officer instructing RSF members not to photograph the weapons provided by the UAE, which, as I said, are actually a bunch of British weapons. The UAE has, at the International Court of Justice, denied that they are helping the RSF carry out this genocide last year, I think, or it was earlier this year. The Sudanese government that is fighting the militias took the UAE to the World Court and told them, the UAE is committing a genocide in Sudan. And the ICJ actually threw out the case. There's a statement that is very interesting also from a few years ago. This is from last year. A Biden official spoke. This is according to Reuters, a quote by a Biden official who said, a senior member of the administration told them, you think Sudan is in Africa. Sudan is not in Africa, my friend. Sudan is in the Gulf. When we go to see the Emirates, what number on our to-do list do you think Sudan is? It is not on our to-do list. What we have to do is keep the Emirates on side with Israel and on side against Iran. So a member of the Biden administration kind of gives away the game in this quote reported by Reuters last year, in which this is, as you said, Karim, this is about hegemony. We are seeing Israel established as the hegemon in West Asia, right? Israeli Anglo-Zionist hegemony, and the UAE is catching a ride along in that bus because they are, again, as you said, presented now as the city of the future, right? Dubai, Abu Dhabi, the central, the center of trade, right? Everyone is in Dubai. Everyone right now is dealing in Dubai in one way or another. And also worth noting that it's that Sudan is also on the Red Sea. They have, of course, a very long Red Sea coast, and it could be used just like Somalia, just like Djibouti, to launch attacks against Yemen, an issue that has yet to be resolved. The Yemeni question is a question that still has no answer from the US, from Israel, from the UAE, from Saudi Arabia. So, these all kind of compounds. So they create this militia, they fund it, they arm it. Of course, they go and they commit genocide. They're killing the non-Arab population of the Darfur region to the point that you can see the bloodshed from space.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have anything else, any thoughts about this.
Yeah, it's. I just want to say, it's not only the UAE, as you said, they are UK weapons, and of course, the United Kingdom knows what's happening because they know where their arms are going, and if somebody is like somehow not understanding maybe what's happening, these countries, including Israel and the United States and UAE, there is not clear goal of what they are doing. The goal is they want these countries to be weak. It's the goal is not to like out a president or get a new president. The goal is to keep these countries weak because historically these countries had a good history. These countries have influence. And for instance, Sudan, uh, 1 decade ago was the biggest country in Africa and the biggest country in the Arab world. It was 2.5 million kilometers squared. Now it's 1.5 kilometers squared. They divided it into two. And even here in Lebanon, till now we study, or at least my generation studied the importance of Sudan. Sudan is capable to feed the whole Arab world. They have vast lands, and of course they have gold, and they have oil, and they have everything. And the main point is to weaken this country. And also I want to give some information about Ansarullah. Ansarullah and the Houthis, and the mentality of Ansarullah and the Houthis, they studied it in Khartoum in Sudan. The mentality of the Houthi was established in Sudan and then exported to Yemen. So that was very important thing from Sudan, and also the influence of Sudan in other countries, in Egypt and other countries. But now you'll see Sudan is like divided into two countries. Even a country which is very small like UAE that has a population of around 1.4 million, and the rest are all from other nationalities, is manipulating and committing crimes inside a big country with history like Sudan, which is also very sad. So that's what the money and the West and the manipulation and the propaganda does to countries, and that's what me and Esteban talked about last week regarding. Oh, sorry, this week regarding this Monday regarding South of America that don't be manipulated by the West. If they told you they are coming only for Venezuela, that means that the surrounding areas or countries are next
I want
because
to
or
call
what
out.
they because the West and these countries only prosperous if the other countries are in chaos. As simple as that.
I want to call out someone in the chats, Huda Hayere. I'm completely butchering that. Who just writes water, and we're not talking about arable land and water access enough. Yes, that is also one of the things that the UAE seeks to obtain by funding and arming the RSF. They already Emirati companies like International Holding Company and Jannah Investment control now about 50,000 hectares of arable land in Sudan, agricultural land in Sudan. And the Abu Hamed project holds about 162,000 hectares. The UAE sees Sudan as crucial to their control of food supplies, of water supplies, and of everything else that you just listed. Karim is just a country to be plundered. We really are living in the era of piracy again. Like we are back to the era of the pirates of the Caribbean, the pirates of the Red Sea, the pirates of everywhere. And these pirates come, aboard the aircraft carriers. They come with their drones. They come with their weapons to give to these people who are committing now a genocide, another genocide. The same thing as in Gaza. The same thing, that they are seeking to do, as you said, Karim, in Latin America. We are seeing the globalization of murder.
Yeah,
Murder is like the best business now. Oh, I
I just
pronounced the
want.
name great.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to say that the latest massacre that we're talking about happened inside a hospital. Yeah, it's also insane. Yeah, they didn't like they. Yeah, there was. Yeah, not two groups were fighting and like 400 people died. No, they entered a hospital and killed everyone inside the hospital, which
Just,
is also insane. I think
just like
they
the
do this
Zionists.
to like to give like to show them how far they can go, maybe because there is no reason to enter a hospital and kill everybody inside. It's insane.
There's never been a reason. William, I would like to hear your thoughts, in particular about the UAE, what their role seems to be now in the greater West Asia region, and how do they see themselves?
Well, I guess the main thing to emphasize is that they are a really close partner with Israel. And there was a report in Middle East Eye a couple weeks ago that talked about how the UAE is basically partnering with Israel, and it's building all these military bases in different areas around the Gulf of Aden, Somalia, Yemen, and I don't know. I mean, they just, I guess Qatar did this, a lot, especially back in 2011, where again, it's a very small country with a huge amount of money. And they're tried to basically have major foreign policy influence throughout the entire region. Qatar was supporting the Muslim Brotherhood and supporting all these regime change operations that were viewed at
Egypt.
the time as democratic uprisings, the Arab Spring. But it turns out that was all, backed by the U.S., Israel, and Qatar was working very hard with them to overthrow these governments and put the Muslim Brotherhood in power. But the UAE seems to be doing very similar things now, again, in very close partnership with Israel, again, trying to exert control over that really important part of the world, the Gulf of Aden. And, again, it's through establishing military bases, places like Somaliland and Yemen, and then also just a lot of the natural resources. Gold apparently is a big driver of the conflict in the Sudan, and a lot of the gold trade. A lot of gold comes out of Sudan, and that all passes through the UAE. That's like where all the major gold markets in the world are. Or it's the UAE is a major player in the gold markets. A lot of that trade has moved away from London ever since the Ukraine and Russia war, and it's moved towards the UAE. So, anyways, the UAE, they're basically plundering Sudan and some of these other countries. So, yeah, I guess not quite sure what to say beyond that.
No, I think it's you gave a pretty clear picture. You know, there's obviously a design here. There's obviously a design, and at the same time, oh wow, you guys went completely dark.
Oh, sorry, we lost electricity here.
Such is the reality. Such is the reality of Lebanon under U.S. promises. Maybe this is the perfect opportunity to remind everyone. Please become a patron of the Cradle. Please help us continue to keep the lights on. You know, wink, wink. Unfortunately, no, this is more. This is just it's not like the Cradle didn't pay the bill. It's an unfortunate situation always in Lebanon. But I feel like this is the perfect point to close this week's episode. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to remind you to please leave a like, to subscribe, to share this video, to leave a comment after we're done with this transmission. Just make sure to leave a comment. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm. That really helps to get these videos out to more people. We want to continue to grow our audience. We want to continue to be here and bringing you the news as they happen. You know, break the hegemonic narrative. Thank you, Karim. Thank you, William. Thank you to all of our patrons as well. And we'll see you next week. We'll see you, on Monday. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.